Welcome to my life. Let's shine on me. We don't talk about sin. Welcome to my life. Let's shine on me. We don't talk about swim. We don't talk about swim.
Hello, I'm Ed Akira, co-founder of the Black Swimming Association and producer of the Blacks Can Swim film documentaries. Oh, and host of the We Don't Talk About Swim podcast, which we're having a conversation about right now. Today I have a very special guest with us today. I always say that. I always say, we've got a very special guest. But today we have a very special guest. And so basically, we started having a conversation about, I was introduced to this gentleman, and then we started having a conversation on WhatsApp and such. And then I looked at his profile on Instagram and I go, how many followers? 5.5 million followers? Then all of a sudden I just got nervous. Because we were talking about, we're going to have a conversation. And I was like, hey, this guy's a superstar, so I better come correct. And but all jokes aside, I'm very, very, very honored to have Ricardo P Lloyd with us today. And Ricardo, over to you. Introduce yourself to the audience.
Thank you, Ed. I appreciate the warm introduction. So my name is Ricardo P Lloyd. I'm a British actor, writer, presenter, and producer. Been in the industry for a while. Professionally, it's been like 4.5 years, but been acting for over 10 years, 10, 15 years since I was little. I was young. I'm 30 now, so it's been, time has flown by, but there's so much for me to do and achieve, and I just want to be an instrumental voice and someone that can inspire and empower many people from different walks of life.
Awesome. So, going to the first question I always ask, do you swim?
Do I swim? I was speaking to your wife earlier. She asked me about swimming. I would say I'm not a confident swimmer, not at all. I don't know if it's a fear or phobia, like most people from where we come from have, but it's something that I definitely want to, work on. I think even when it comes to like things like traveling in different parts of the world, I'd rather take an airplane than go on a boat. And that's just like, I think it's a subconscious thing, you know?
So what's your story? I mean, and that's the thing about swimming is that everyone has a story. Whether you swim or you don't swim, there's always a story behind it. So how did your journey with swimming or not swimming, whatever it is, how did your journey start?
Well, it was from school. So from school days, we used to go to like our local sports centre, and we used to, do swimming there. I think I was in year 4, year 5. So that's where the swimming, happened. But I would say maybe I had a bad experience. I don't know if it's like, sometimes these things can affect us. When you have experiences and, it then plays a part in how you look at or view something.
Okay. So when you say bad experience, can you tell us a bit more about it?
Like,
if you want to, that is. Yeah.
I think one time I was in the pool and I felt like I was gonna drown, and it was like this anxiety where I feel like I'm not in control, and I don't like not being in control of situations. So I think that kind of put me off being in the water. However, I've traveled. I've been to places like Jamaica and stuff like that, and I've been on a jet ski. I think when I was on the jet ski at one point, I actually flipped off of the jet ski and I was in the water. So, but obviously you have a life jacket on, but you still have that phobia of like, I can die or I can drown. So I think these are definitely things that are subconscious there that puts me off water.
Yeah, well, jet ski. The thing is that I wouldn't even go on a jet ski. So, and you probably know I've only just recently learned to swim, and I've hid behind everything that all the stereotypes, the stigmas, and the myths for about black people and swimming. You probably heard the statistics: 95% of black adults in England do not swim, and 80% of black children in England do not swim. And up until 5 years ago, I was one of those. And the way I see it is, it's people ask me that, so Ed, now that you're doing this, you've started this campaign 5 years in, you've done all these film documentaries. You co-founded the Black Swimming Association. You must be in the pool every day. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Because that anxiety, okay, the fear of being in water, I don't have fear of getting into water, but it's not something as part of my, my upbringing. It's not part of my everyday. And so like, even for me to get into the pool, for me to like, I'm going to the swimming pool today, I'm going on holiday, I'm going there, I have to mentally prepare myself for it. It's not like my daughter. I've got a 13-year-old daughter who she is basically, she'll just get up and go, oh, because she's seen it, she's heard about it, she's seen it around her, so she's comfortable with it. But I have to mentally prepare myself to get to that state, which I'm trying to overcome. I'm trying to overcome.
I was going to ask you, so what was that like for you? You said you was in your 40s, right? When you've learned how to swim. So
50s.
50s, well.
Oh, I know, I'm looking nice. Showing my age here. It was. Unfortunately for me, the very first time I ever got into the water to learn how to swim was in the end scene of a film called Blacks Can't Swim, which is the first film documentary. And so when you see me getting into the water, that's not acting. That was fear. It was scary. Now I'm comfortable. I can get into the water. I can swim under the water. I can come up. But where I struggle is with the breathing. Breathing is and I think that's the hardest thing to do. Getting the breathing right, because so I can swim until I run out of breath. Then when I come up to breathe and I go, then it all goes to pot. So that is but it goes beyond that. And now at that time I didn't know that. I thought it was just about we just didn't swim. When we get into the water and we swim, everything will be okay. But it goes way beyond that. It's my parents don't swim. My grandparents before them didn't swim. So it's one of those things. It's never been part of anything that we do. So and that's what I'm trying to change. When I say changing the narrative, it's changing how we view water, how we view swimming, our ideologies and all that kind of thing.
So would you say that was a fear for you?
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah, it most definitely was a fear. It was definitely was.
So what made you say, like, at this age, you said you was in your 50s, that I'm gonna just stop and I'm just gonna learn how to swim. I'm gonna do this for myself. You have to find some kind of courage to do that. So what was it that switched in your brain to make you want to do that?
My daughter.
Yeah.
My daughter at that time, she was 5 years. She was about 7, 8, and I read a story about a father who was with his daughter, and she fell in the water, and he couldn't save her, and she drowned. And I said to myself, like, if I was ever in that position, and I couldn't save her, couldn't save my daughter, I would never be able to forgive myself.
Yeah.
So based on that, I said I need to do something about this, and. The worst thing is that it wasn't as if I've had the thing that I want to swim. I want to learn how to swim, and then but because of the fear or because of whatever, I've not done it. It wasn't that. The problem is that it wasn't even part of my conversation. It wasn't even on my radar. And you tend to find that majority of people within our communities that do not swim is the same. It's not even part of the radar. And those are the people that are most at risk.
Yeah.
And I always say my mum is a very, very big advocate for water safety. She's huge on water safety. Her idea of water safety is stay away from the water and you will not drown.
So where's your heritage?
Ghana.
Ghana, okay. So when you was in Ghana, like, growing up or anything like that, there was no like seas or oceans that you would go in and...
So this brings me to another conversation. So I grew up in Kumasi, which is inland.
Yeah.
And I had cousins that were on in Accra, which is the capital, which is on the coast. And I know people say that, oh, well, I went to Ghana, I went to Accra, they're all swimming there and all that kind of thing on the coast. And I go, yeah, those that live by the water do swim. Many of them drown because of the safeguarding issues and things like that. Yeah. But they swim, right? But those inland don't, because we don't have pools. Many of us don't have swimming pools in our house. We don't have sea by, so why would we learn how? We know what they so, and when I said about people drowning by the coast on the coast, those stories go back inland.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, you want to stay away from the water.
Yeah.
That's why my mum is like, why? Stay away from the water. Why do you want to go there? But we're in a situation, we go on holidays, we find ourselves in different places, at different times. So water safety is so important. But yeah, that's the reason. Going back to your question, that was the reason why, my daughter is the reason why I decided to do something about it.
I think that's a deeper conversation to have because me from the Afro-Caribbean background, Jamaican heritage, maybe it's like a generational thing, like subconsciously. Why is it that, a lot of us, like you said the statistics earlier, don't swim? I think it's something that we need to really like look into.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
It is, and we're having these conversations now. We're having these uncomfortable conversations. When I first started this journey, and I decided to call the film and the campaign "Blacks Can't Swim," a lot of people said, "Don't do that. Please don't do that." It's by calling it "Blacks Can't Swim," what you're saying is that black people cannot swim and all that kind of thing, and you're adding to the stereotype and you're adding to the issue. And I thought about it for all 2 seconds, and I said, I am going to call it that because what I'm talking about is I'm talking about my personal journey.
Yeah.
And I believed I couldn't swim for this and that. Then you hear all these stereotypes, all these stigmas, all these myths about black people have heavy bones, and because of that we can't float, and all these kind of things. And I've had numerous conversations about people, speaking to people about, so why don't you swim? And they go, oh, it's a white person's sport. It's not black people don't swim.
That goes to what I was going to ask you, because I'm obviously we're having a conversation. I wouldn't see this as an interview, but it's more so a conversation and seeing, each other's journey. So in terms of like Olympics and stuff like that, is there a lot of black people or people from ethnic backgrounds that compete in those competitions? I don't really know.
Okay, well, okay, you've come to the right place, Ricardo. And then I started a podcast called In the Deep End. And this was in the middle of 2019. And the whole idea of the podcast was to interview people, influential people, about their journey. People like Noel Clark, the film director Noel Clark was on there. I interviewed DJ Simtex and quite a few other, Colin Salmon, who's now in EastEnders, and quite a few other people, and hearing their journeys, because I wanted to hear other people's journey, why they do or why they don't swim. One of the persons I interviewed was a lady that I was introduced to by the name of Alice Deering. Alice Deering is the only black swimmer in Team GB.
Wow.
So that's a long way of answering your question, but yep. And as we stand today,
in 2024, she's the only black
swimmer in Team GB. Alice Deering was the very first woman to ever represent England in the Tokyo in the Olympics. So I think the first swimming events in the Olympics was about 100 and something years ago.
Yeah.
And England has been in each of these, every 4 years, wherever. The very first woman ever to represent England, a black woman, was Alice Deering, and that was 3 years ago in the Olympics in Tokyo.
I can't believe these statistics. To know that we're so underrepresented in that space, in sports. And even in like the statistics in terms of the skill set, it's crazy. Yeah, mental.
Yeah, it is crazy. Yeah, and you probably heard about the documentary, the new documentary, which I have I've started a crowdfunding to. So basically, I said to myself, right, I have put a lot of sweat into this campaign, this Blacks Can't Swim campaign. Everything I do, from the films, everything I do is all self-funded. I've got a day job, and I'm an IT consultant. So it's basically I've got a day job, I've got a family,
night job.
I've got a night job, and I've got a family who I don't see because I've got a very, 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 shall I say, understanding wife and daughter.
Yeah.
So I said to myself, I need to understand where we are now. So the whole idea of the documentary is to review what we've done over the last 5 years. So like 3 film documentaries, co-founding the Black Swimming Association as the first ever organization set up to highlight the importance of water safety and drowning prevention in the African, Caribbean, and Asian communities. And everything that I do on a daily basis, brought out the book, A Visual Journey of Blacks Can't Swim, or I want to go back and look at all this and see how it's influenced water safety and drowning prevention in aquatics within our communities. So basically, I want to understand that I'm hoping that everything that we've done over the last 5 years, has had some impact on where we are today.
A question that I was gonna ask you, like when I was in school, I said to you that's over. How many years ago was that? Because I'm 30 now, so that must have been when I was like year 5, year 4. So that's years ago, like decades ago. Do you think that, are they still doing that in schools in terms of teaching young people how to swim? You know, are they still doing that, or is it something that's got lost?
No, swimming is part of the curriculum.
Yeah.
Right. And at the last, basically, I think every child is entitled to 25 hours of swimming lessons. That's from year 1 to up to year 6. So every child is, and you got your 25 hours. Most schools do not have swimming pools. So we will assume that the school arranged for a coach to take 30 kids, take them out of class, 30 kids, put them in a coach, minibus, take them to the leisure center, and you have an hour to do your lessons. So imagine 30 kids in a minibus at school. The kids mess around as they do. So by the time you get them into the pool, you've only got about 30 minutes, or if that. So what they do is, you've got 30 kids in this very short period of time to get them in the pool. They put them into categories. Those that can swim, those are confident to swim, they put them on one side. Those that are okay, put them in the middle. And those that have a deep fear because they haven't had any lessons or they've got fear of water, they put them on the side, right? So the only ones that will get into the pool are those that have some confidence. All the others will just sit down, blow bubbles, put rings around you and that kind of thing, right? And we tend to find out that those that have the confidence are those that parents take them swimming lessons outside of the education system. So if you're like me and you've never had that, and your parents didn't see the importance of it, or you never did it, then I'll be that kid with blowing bubbles on the side. Wow. And we've already established that 95% of black adults in England do not swim. So the likelihood of me going to those swimming lessons are very, very low. And that, so this is where equity comes in. So it's not about inclusivity, it's about equity. You've got to, the kids are being put in a situation, well, they have swimming lessons. So the kid will come out of school, oh yeah, I have swimming lessons, but I still can't swim. So it's a big problem. It's a big issue.
I think, just hearing what you said in terms of you learning how to swim at a later stage in life, I would definitely want to do that. Because I think it's important. It's a life skill that you definitely need to have. Just like any other life skill, like driving or anything, it's survival. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very important. And a lot of people say, oh, what do you call it? I want to learn how to swim because it's just a life skill, like you just said. But in order for it's got to be more than that. And I think that's the problem that we have. It has to be more than, it has to be enjoyable. It has to be fun. It has to be exciting. It's got to be something that we want to do. When I was filming the second film, Blacks Can't Swim, the sequel, we had, at the end of the day, we had, a filming session whereby we get, people get in the, and all these film documentaries, the only time you see a pool is at the end of it, because the documentaries are more about not swimming rather than swimming. So there's very, very little actual pool time in it, and because everything is so real and everybody's so engaged and all that kind of thing about what is real life experiences. So there's very little swimming, and. It was a scenario whereby we had to, I was there, we got a pool, we hired a pool about 3-4 hours, and we had to get everybody in the pool and all that kind of thing. But when I was speaking with Mr. Rex, I was saying, we're going to have to get everybody. There was a lot of oh no, we don't want to get in the pool, we don't want to do this, we don't want to, that kind of thing. But what we did was we made it relatable. You know, we had people there, people doing their hair. You know, we had music and all that kind of music playing. So it was relatable and it was fun. And people got into the pool and people got in there and they were enjoying themselves. You know, those that could swim, those that couldn't swim. But they were in there because it was relatable. So I think it's got to be fun. It's got to be exciting.
Do you know what as well that I find interesting? I don't know if you know that there's this company, UK company that do swimming hats. I think is a black guy or I don't know.
Yeah, there's a few of there's a few of them. That's right. Yeah,
but even the products itself around swimming is not really marketed
that's
towards
right.
us.
Yeah.
Which is probably why the statistics are so high as well.
It's what do you call it? It's the chicken and the egg situation because organizations weren't doing it because there wasn't a demand for it because a lot of people know. So therefore, but now since the last few years, there's a lot of organizations out there, both swimming schools and product manufacturers that are gearing their product towards the African, Caribbean, and Asian, because there's the hair, black women in the hair, as a reason why chlorine in the hair and all that kind of thing, and there's so many other things, but there has to be continuation.
Yeah.
There has to be, we have to talk about it. That's the reason why I say why we don't talk about swim. But yeah, I have some questions for you. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
I have some questions.
Let's go for it.
Yes, let's go. And this is delving slightly away from swimming.
Yeah.
Right. So you are a mentor, right? Mm-hmm. You are an inspiration to many. I know that because I've seen your Instagram page. You are, what do you call it? Someone who's come from humble beginnings, right? And you've created this great persona, you've created this environment, and you're doing so, you've done a great thing, you've done quite a few great things. Well, no, a lot of great things. How do you inspire the youth?
I would say this, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So sometimes it's not about all the information, you can do this, you can do that. You have to actually show look, I care. And I think sometimes that's where the change can happen. So I think it can happen in many different ways. There's been people in my life or my path that's shown that level of care, that's maybe give me that inspiration, that encouragement to know that it's possible to move away from certain environments. So I think that's a way that you can inspire youth, and it's just being authentic as well. There's so many people that may talk the talk, but not many people are actually living what they say as well. So when you can demonstrate that you are the real deal, I think that can inspire others as well, that there's people that are not just saying things but they're the truth as well. When I look back on my own journey as well, there's been different points in my path, on my journey. Some of those moments, I might have needed that word of encouragement, or I might have needed that example. And it's a shame because I grew up in Northwest London, so there wasn't really much like role models or people that I can look up to. So you have to kind of find those tools within yourself. I always knew that I didn't want to be in the same place or same environments, around the same people. So that's where the change happened for me, is that deeper inner desire, within, myself and within my character. I think a lot of people don't really possess that. A lot of people don't want to change as well. Some people actually are comfortable. Yeah, you might have shown them a different thing, a different possibility, but it's for that person to say, okay, let me use this and utilize this opportunity to move ahead. Some people are just comfortable, and it's that it's the fear as well, the fear of changing and doing something different, or, that validation of what their peers or people around them might think of them. So I think sometimes it's a blurred line when it comes to, things like that, because it's not always black and white. It's more so if you've given something to someone, it's for that person now to use that. And there's only so much you can do, you're not Jesus, you can't go around and heal and save everybody, but you can, point them to the light. But it's for that person and that individual to kind of recognize the light and recognize the tools, or get the tools, or develop the tools within themselves to move ahead and move forward.
That's amazing. Yes, and thank you very much. And I really appreciate your thoughts on that.
Like even myself, I have people that approach me all the time wanting me to mentor them and stuff like that. And I have to show them, I have to tell them that I'm only a human being. I can maybe be there to support and encourage me, but I can't encourage you, but I can't be there all the time. You have to want to put in the work for yourself. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of the people today are very entitled. They want people just to give them stuff and hand things for them, but they don't want to work or they don't want to do things for themselves. They just expect everything handed.
Yep.
And I never got that in life. Like nothing was handed to me. Like when I failed my GCSEs, I had to be the one that went and enrolled into sixth form college, and I had to go to college, and I had to do the retakes, and I had to do all that stuff. Because I knew that I wanted to not be in that place of that environment or that statistic. That's where that change happened. Do you get what I'm trying to say? It was a deep thing within myself to want to change. But obviously, you need, on that journey, when you step in that journey, you're going to meet the people along the way that maybe encourage you or mentor you or show you different things. But it's for you to step on that path yourself,
That's very, very true. Very, very, very true.
I felt like I was a bit waffling on
No, you didn't. It's really true. There's a lot of things you said that made me think. So in your journey, so did you have a lot of support from a family background into where you are now? Because it couldn't have been easy. I mean, you don't know.
Yes and no. There's sides of where my family would save their little money and send me to drama school on Saturday. So that stuff helped. There were seeds. All of that was seeds to lead me to where I'm at. But a lot of the times, a lot of people didn't have maybe the direction of what it is I wanted to do because it's taboo. I was like the first person in my family to go to university and all that stuff. So I was doing all these things that, was not necessarily like the set path for people around me. So sometimes that could be hard when you're an anomaly and you're doing these things. But sometimes I would look to other people. Like I said, when I look to other people, I look to, maybe like someone that I'm inspired by, who's on TV. Like, for example, in the acting world, I looked at people like Amel Amin, who was doing the Kid Outhood and The Bill and all this stuff. And they were inspirations for me growing up because I saw that they was doing something different. They didn't want to just be the same old man's going to kill you stereotype, that he was actually trying to break ground. So... And there was a few role models like that growing up for me, but it wasn't many. I think I mainly kind of looked to the Americans or, like yourself, you're very cultural. I had people like Bob Marley that I was inspired by, or Tupac or Michael Jackson. It was outside of like the UK kind of environment sometimes because I don't really see any kind of role models in the UK that were doing or aspiring to where I want to go. Obviously, times have changed now. I think there's a lot of possibilities. You have people like Daniel Kaluuya. You have all these amazing people doing different things. But when I was growing up, it was scarce in terms of those representations.
So, what words of wisdom would you give to a child, or shall I say, a young adult that is trying to do something with their life, but they're coming against all these obstacles, all these blockers on a daily basis, and what would you say to them? Because you have done it.
I think it's a hard one because I don't think there's any set answer, but I would say things like be authentic. There's so many things in this world that will try and shape you and mold you into what it wants you to be. And you have to be true to yourself. If you want to sing a song, you sing the song and you sing it to the best of your ability. And yes, there's going to be naysayers. There's going to be people saying, oh, you can't do this and you can't do that. But you have to stay true to that inner desire and that inner calling. It's a purpose-driven thing because at the end of the day, when you die and you leave this earth, you want to be able to say that I did what I set out to do and I achieved the things that I set out to achieve. I inspired and I empowered other people and I lived a meaningful life. I think that's what we all desire to do, even what you're doing. We all have that inner desire to say that I'm living a life of purpose and meaning and substance. And it's hard because, like I said, there's so many different paths in life. There's so many different status quos and things what society and cultures and things will say that you can't do. And it's like all these limitations. But you have to strip all of that and shut all those voices out and go in yourself and think, who am I? And where is it that I want to achieve? And where do I want to head in life? What fulfills me? Yeah. And that's self-education. There's obviously education that you can get from schools and there's education that you can get from your peers and culture, but there's an education that you have to have with yourself, where you come in terms with yourself. You can look yourself in the mirror and you can see yourself for who you are and who you really are at the core, for making sense.
Oh, yeah, that's perfect. It's you've hit the nail on the head.
I had to personally do that.
Yeah.
I had to make a decision when I was about 15, 16. When I saw all these different guys that I was around, and there was all smoking weed and around gangs and all that stuff, and I felt pressured. I felt like if I don't hang around with these people, I'm moist, I'm soggy. I felt all these different pressures, and I stepped away from a lot of those friendships. And they ended up, a lot of them ended up in prison. A lot of them ended up just doing different things and different paths. But I made that decision, and to say no to, what is around you and what is expected, it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of strength.
You've had it. You've had it from Ricardo P Lloyd directly. So
and I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I know that the journey and what is on the other side of it. No one tells you and no one prepares you, but when you just step out in faith and you step outside the boat and you just focus on your purpose and your goals and your aspirations, it will kind of line up. You'll be at the right place at the right time. You'll meet the people that you need to meet because you've stepped out. But if you don't step out and you just stay in your room and you keep those dreams and those goals and you don't do nothing with it, how could you expect more for yourself? You know what I mean?
And I think that's when the mental health kicks in and everything else. And yeah, because I've heard it so many times. People have these big dreams, big aspirations. Nothing comes of it, and then it sends them into another dimension.
And even myself, right? I'm talking about. I think that it's a lot of points that I feel like is very important. Like even myself, right? Being a young black British actor, there's so much barriers in the UK. I've spoke about this on a BBC documentary I did and all these things, but like even that, I'm not gonna allow these barriers to limit me, because I know that I have a purpose and I know that I'm gonna keep moving forward regardless. And even if they say no or there's a obstacle my way, I'm gonna create that path, or I'm gonna create the opportunity for myself, because I'm gonna do the things that I can control. A lot of the things in life we can't control, but you have to focus on the stuff that you can control, which is yourself, your mind, your heart, your health. The environments that you can create for yourself, not those environments that is created, but the environments you create for yourself. You can control that. You can control the skills and the tools that you give yourself. You can control how you see yourself. You can control these things.
So do you, in this day and age, 2024, are there still unconscious biases or conscious biases when it comes to acting, when it comes to casting of parts for various different people of African, Caribbean, and Asian communities? I mean, typecasting. Do you still have those? Do you have those challenges?
Of course, I'll be a liar if I said it's all figured out and it's all together. I think this is. Sorry, 1 second. I think these are things that people don't want to really shed light on. I find that a lot of actors who are high profile, they will only shed light when they have a product to sell, like a book, or they've got a TV show or a drama that they're selling, and they will start talking about race issues because it would make the media. But these are definitely fights that a lot of us face every single day, and it's hard, when you're being rejected all the time. And it's not like the American racism or the American race issues. In America, they're very, I was saying this to your wife earlier, they're very like direct.
Yes.
In the UK, it's very invert. So they will say things and it's the subtext of what they're saying, and they're never going to really tell you what they mean by that. You know what I'm saying? Oh, we already got someone that looks like you in the books. Or you're not quite, but they're not telling you what it is. Whereas America is probably a bit more blunt and direct with certain things.
Yeah, it's like in the UK, there's been a lot of like, oh, there's no racism in the UK.
Yeah.
I know we live together in the same areas. There's no racism, that kind of thing. We have a black person in this organization, that kind of thing. But like you said, in America, it's very much like in your face, yeah.
And I think maybe because they had to address the race issues, whereas the UK, we wasn't in slavery for that period and all that stuff, so we think that we don't have a race issues, but we don't know that there's things called institutional racism and all these things, systematic.
Yeah.
Especially as well in the arts as well. Like, it's very a problematic thing because, you know, like some of the people, it's the barriers to entry in the industry is because of wealth or the economic side.
Yeah.
But people don't discuss these things.
And we don't have that generational wealth and things like that. So we're starting from scratch. We're starting from here, and then, you know, so therefore it becomes an issue. And if you don't have that support behind you, then it becomes a big issue.
Just like look at things like, you know, drama schools. How much is that to even enroll, or you know, all these things, right? So when you don't have the money to go to a drama school, and then you need to go to a drama school for a serious agent to take you on, these are still like issues. There's a lot of issues in the industry, definitely a lot of issues. I don't say I have the answers, but I know I've experienced enough to know there's a problem, you know?
The good thing is that we're having this conversation. We're having this talk about it. So hopefully this will inspire more conversations, and then eventually, hopefully, we'll get to an answer. But we have to talk about it, because if you don't talk about it, you're never going to get anywhere.
And then I kind of get tired of just talking about like race all the time and all these things. But I'm a black man in the UK, and I'd be affected by different things every single day.
Yeah.
Like even the other day, I was somewhere and I got profiled, and I'm getting profiled. You know, I'm walking around in a space and I'm getting stopped. So these are different things that we go through. You know what I mean? I'm not even doing anything, but you know, you're not stopping anyone else, but you stop me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. All I have to do is just walk into a shop wearing a hoodie. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, I've got all these followers. I've got a security guard, I've got the manager, I've got everybody, I've got all these people following me. You know what I mean? So yeah, it is an issue. It is an issue. Yeah. So, Ricardo, what's happening? What's happening in your life? What's the world, you know, have to look forward to in the life of Ricardo P Lloyd?
Well, we're in 2024. So in 2024, I think it's been like a slow start to the year, but it's been productive. But in terms of what people can expect from me, I think I want to be more in control. You know, I think as an actor, it's always going from job to job and please employ me, or it's depending on your next project. But, you know, I want to be in more control of my destiny in terms of like the creative side of it, the output. And that's what I'm focusing on this year, just creating meaningful stuff and talking and collaborating with different people to make sure that, you know, I make my mark in the way that I need to do, you know, and inspire and empower people and tell meaningful stories.
That's great.
Well, I want people to see more of my writing side. People don't know that I'm a writer. They know about the acting and the public profile stuff, but I'm a writer, man. I've written from when I was like 16, and in my teenage years I used to write poems and all that stuff. People haven't seen that side of me, you know, as much, and I want people to see all the different pockets, because I think I don't think I know I'm a multifaceted artist, and it's important for me as a creative for people to see all those sides of me.
Well, I'm pretty sure they will. 2024. Watch this space, 2024. So how can people find you? It's a silly question. I'm going on your Instagram and you got 5.5. Of course people are going to find you. Yeah. But yeah, just for the sake of, so for this now, how can people find you on social media?
So I have an official website, which is ricardoployd.com, and also my socials are Ricardo P Lloyd. So RICARDOP, and then Lloyd is LLOYD.
Well, Ricardo, thank you very much. I've really have enjoyed speaking to you, and I can't wait to listen back to it, because this has been very insightful.
And Ed, thank you for having me. In any way I can support the work that you're doing around swimming, actually, why don't I go in the pool myself and learn how to swim? And do it through you. I'm not anytime soon, but yeah.
Yeah, let's have this conversation. Let's get this done. Thank you very much. It's been amazing.
Yes,
thank you very much, Ruben.